I'm Adam Pennell, Shropshire Lad, and I'm down here at the Severn Valley Railway in Bridgnorth because I've been challenged to cook on probably the fastest oven on earth, Tornado. So I'm climbing up into the firebox of Tornado here, which you might have seen on the Paddington film or on Top Gear. It's a 100-mile-an-hour steam train, but what I'm here to do today is to cook in this inferno. I love to cook with fire. This is possibly my biggest challenge yet, but I'm up for it. I can't wait. Let's go and do this. I wanted to cook some lamb. We've got this lovely deboned leg of lamb. I think if I was to cook it like this, then we're going to have a black outside and raw in the middle because it's that hot. So what we're going to do is going to open this up, butterfly it up. So it's almost like a big steak. We've doctored this pan, you'll see, just so it can just about squeeze through the gap to get it into the footplate. So I'm going to open that up, season it. That's going to cook. We're going to make some focaccia bread with some extra lamb fat on the top and some anchovies, and then some roasted veg, and then hopefully get it all served up in here for lunchtime for these boys who are working here day in, day out and in these cold, wet conditions, and warm them up. So let's get going. Right, so first thing is to take this lamb. I'm going to take the strings off. What you find when you've had a leg like this deboned, butcher's kept it in almost perfect form, but what we're going to do is go along here and just going to open this up. This is what we call butterflying. So we're going to make it essentially into a big old steak. So that's already getting towards where we want to be. Now this is going to be screaming hot, so I'm going to score the fat, diamonds along the fat. That's going to help it to render out a little bit quicker. So that's the lamb scored on that side. And on this side, I think it's just important to just put some incisions into the meat. If you have a bit thicker lumps at one end to this middle bit, then obviously we're going to have it cooking at different, it's going to be cooked differently in different areas. So you have it more rare at one end than you are at the other. So we want it to all be even. So this scoring really helps. So we've got our lamb now spread out, scored. All it's going to need now is some seasoning. So, got a whole load of black peppercorns there. Going to bring these down, freshly ground every time for me. It's got to be done nice and coarse. That there. Okay, generous helping of sea salt in there. Okay, and some rosemary. Chuck that together. Okay, a bit woody, it's fine. That goes into the pot. A little bit of olive oil. Okay. And then second grind. Right then, next, I'm going to take this lamb, throw it into the pan, bring her up here, just move my knife, and then I'm just going to use this seasoning as it is and just get it all rubbed into every last little nook and cranny that we've made in the butterflied lamb. I can almost taste this already, man. It smells amazing, that rosemary. We're going to end up with what we call biscuits, like little lamb fat, sort of crunchy bits of deliciousness on the top of there. Fingers crossed. We've never done this before, so who knows? We might not. Right, so that can just rest and come up to sort of, well, I say room temperature. It's about 5 degrees out here today, but we'll do what we can. Right, so we've got the remnants of the lamb marinade there. So it's just a little bit of rosemary, black pepper, salt, oil. We're going to add some chili. So just to give it a little bit of a kick. Okay, in some garlic. In there. Help that along a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take some mint. Take the woody bits out, just leave us the leaves. Some parsley. Now for some acidity, I'm going to add a little bit of balsamic. And also a little bit of apple cider vinegar as well. So we've kind of got our heat from the chili, we've got acidity, we've got salt. We'd also like to add a little bit of sweetness in the way of a little bit of runny honey. Should have taken the lid off before I started this. And then I'm going to give that a little bit more of a bash. Obviously, by giving this the pestle and mortar treatment, you kind of bash in all the flavour out of those green herbs as well, like particularly the mint. By bruising it, you know, it's going to be really kind of pushing those flavours, making it super delicious. And then this chimi marinade, sort of mint chimichurri, pimped up mint sauce, whatever you want to call it, is going to be better in about an hour. So I'm just going to let that stew now. Let the vinegar do its thing. So a little, oh shit man, that's good, yes. Right, while the lamb marinades, I'm going to prep up this veg, which is just going to go into that pan with a bit of fat and just roasted really simply in the foot plate in there. Right then, so now we're going to move on to making this focaccia dough. This is the dough I made earlier on. It's risen. I'm going to knock it back now. Put a little bit of oil on my hands, just so it doesn't stick, because we don't have too many facilities here for cleaning it off again. So you see, I'll just knock the air out of that. Still nice and loose. Lovely. That's that. Now we're going to take this pan. I'm going to hit it with some olive oil. Now, when you make a focaccia, it's always like a high oil based bread. What we're going to do today is I'm going to put this oil in the bottom, but on the top, once this is re-risen, we're going to take it into the firebox and let it prove again. And then we're going to hit it with some lamb fat and also some anchovies, which are really oily fish, and some rosemary. Anchovies and lamb work incredibly well together. And so we're going to get those, as it cooks in there, it's super high heat. These will break down and you won't even notice them in there, but they're going to bring an amazing flavour to this loaf of bread. So I'm going to take that dough out of the bowl and just work it into this pan. Lots and lots of dimples all over it. It's going to help us to get flavour in there. Okay, next thing, rosemary. Just going to work it into the dough, like so. There we are. And then we're going to take the anchovies, just pop these out. These are going to bring a lovely, intense, salty flavour, which is quite unique to this bread. Obviously, focaccia is similar to a pizza. Anchovies, always get anchovies on a pizza. So all these flavours kind of make sense to me. So we're just going to just tear off little bits of anchovy and throw them into the bread. The idea here is to get a little bit of every flavour into every bite of this bread. So we're just going to stud it all over, like so. Little sprinkle of salt. Okay, and then now what we're going to do is make this a little microclimate to prove again for the second rise. So I'm just going to take some cling film. This might be a little bit tricky. I'm going to just literally wrap the whole thing in film and over. Right, and now we need to find somewhere warm for this to prove. I think I know just the place. Okay, right, so we found our warm place to prove the bread. I don't think it's going to take too long. Fire is obviously, I mean, apparently this is nearly out for these guys, but for me it's absolutely raging. Love a dirty onion, so we're going to drop these in straight into the coals just down here and let them almost look black, but then we're going to pop the middles out and they're going to go on top of the bread. I've also got some lovely beetroot here, which is going to char in the embers there. We'll drop them in the fire too. Oops. That's going to take a little while, so we're going to go and grab a coffee and we'll be back in 20 minutes, half an hour. It should be good. Let's go. I can already see that there's the moisture from the onions is starting to pump out of the top of the onion. That's exactly what we want, to intensify the flavour of those onions, push as much of that moisture out as possible. Obviously we don't want charcoal, but by removing that liquid, we get these really super sweet, intense onions, which are going to then go on top of this bread. And they're going to be absolutely wicked. I can't wait for this. You see it just bursting into flames as the papers take. Just roll them around. They're looking lush. Onions are looking good. You can see that's ready to pop. It's all nice and caramelized and delicious. We're going to leave those on the top there just to cool down so I can handle them. We're going to get the beetroots out in a second as well. Then we're going to get the flambadou in, get that red hot, and then get this bread put together, fire it in, lamb's going in, then the veggies, and then we're going to be eating, man. This is like so exciting, it's crazy. Look at those. They might look knackered now, but inside they are going to be intense because all of the moisture's been drawn out of them, but the middle's still going to be really, really nice and juicy. To show you that inside that beetroot, it's like super juicy and tasty. So I'm going to pull the charred outside of this off once they're cooled down. So we've just got that juicy innard. They're going to go with the nicely roasted parsnips and the carrots. And we're going to have some lovely winter veg that's been cooked in this amazing fire to go with the lamb. So now this is ready to be dressed with some of those delicious dirty onions that we've just pulled out of that inferno, which are resting here, cool enough now to handle. So you'll see, literally just going to squeeze that and all of that goodness, see that juice, it's just going to pop out. It's the most delicious thing. These don't even need any seasoning, man. I could just eat that like that. It's so good. Right. Just drop these on here. Get all the good bits. Doesn't matter if you get a little bit of char in it, because at the end of the day, this is fire cooking. And then we're just going to, with this knife, just help these little, they're virtually falling apart anyway. Help cut these into little slithers. Okay, so we'll take these onions now, and we're just going to, again, make sure that they're nicely spread out across this focaccia bread. I've got some extra bits of lamb fat cut off a surplus bit of meat here. I've got this flambadou, which is red hot. I'm going to drop the fat into the flambadou, which will then melt all over the bread. I'm going to hit the veg as well with a bit more lamb fat. Okay. It's like some out of Indiana Jones, this. Lowering it into the Temple of Doom. Here go. Happy days. Right. Right, now for the main event. The lamb's going in. So excited. Right, so this is a two-man job for sure. So, you right to grab hold of this spade, mate? Yeah? Okay. Let's go. Let's aim for the middle of the oven, yeah? She's in. All right. Good work. She's in there. Flipping heck, I'm excited. Right, lamb's in, bread's in, veggies are waiting. It's now just a waiting game for me. I'm so excited. And I'm glad to have upgraded the Renault Megane to this beast. So this has been a learning experience throughout, and one thing I've learned is it's really difficult to get these kind of pans out of an oven that size and that hot. So what we're going to do is drop these into the pan that we cook the focaccia in now, because it's much easier to get out because we've got this handle. So that's going to go in the fire, and then we're good to go. Veggies, they are now looking pretty good to me. All right, they are done. It's time to eat. Woohoo! All right then, so here we are, grand finale. Let's slice this up. Oh yes, that is absolutely gorgeous looking lamb. Perfect. Just blushing, it's just how I like it. Right, before we pull the boys in to devour this, I'm just gonna finish this off with a nice hit of this wonderful, pimped up, chimichurri style mint sauce. All the way down. And there we have it, Tornado Firebox cooked leg of lamb with some roasted root vegetables and an anchovy and lamb fat focaccia. Right lads, you ready to come and smash this? Yeah. What do you reckon? Yes. So we've got this is the lamb that we've just cooked in the firebox there. It's like a mint chimichurri kind of style, like a pimped up mint sauce, some fire roasted root veg, and then this is a focaccia with some anchovy and a little bit of lamb fat as well. Anchovy and lamb works really well. If you haven't tried it, give it a go. But we haven't got any plates or nothing. You know, this is rough and ready. So just get stuck in, grab yourself some meat. I'll carve up the bread. Get involved.
It does make a difference by having proper fresh bread.
The bread is incredible. Proper like gooey and like nice.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's great, yeah.
Right then, let's load up this lamb. A bit of the chimney. Here goes. Oh my God. Well, it didn't take long to devour, did it? Yeah, I love it, man. There's nothing that gives me more pleasure than feeding people, to be honest with you. That feels good.